Yes, welcome back to class. We've talked about the nutrients, we talk about the food groups, we talk about food safety. So assuming we are eating well, everything is okay, the food is safe. Yes, are we balancing the food so that we avoid being overweight or being obesity? That is what we are going to discuss today, energy balance. Because you see, we eat first and foremost to satisfy our energy needs. So when the energy goes off, then it means there's a problem. Yes, so energy balance and healthy body weight are key. So what you have on the scene, see somebody is overweight, but yet look at the amount of food surrounding such a person. This has a lot of implications on our nutrition and hence health. So at the end of this lecture, you should be able to explain energy balance, list the factors that determine energy expenditure, that is how much energy we expend or energy out. And then we should be able to also to list the contributing factors to overweight and obesity. We should be able to calculate the body mass index, that is the BMI, and we should also be able to describe the role of the basal metabolic rate, BMR, in determining individuals' daily energy needs. So both overweight and underweight present risks to health. Because if you are overweight, you have too much weight, it has implication on your body. If you are underweight, it means you are not eating enough, not getting enough nutrients, and that also puts you at health risk. So either way, there is a challenge. So one has to be in the proper weight. So our body composition is very, very important, and fat plays an important role in this regard. So when we talk of energy balance, it is basically the change in the body's energy stores. And this is expressed mathematically as energy in minus energy out. Energy in minus energy out. When we talk of energy in and energy out, the energy in is basically the foods and beverages that we take in every day. That is what contributes to the energy in component of the equation. And then the energy outside is how we get the food outside, out of the body, how we expend. And that has to do with our lifestyle, the basal metabolic rate, that is how we are able to use the food that we've taken, the energy that we've taken during rest, and then also during metabolism, the breakdown, and then also our lifestyle that has to do with the physical activity. How active are we? Are we sedentary and so forth? It is important to know that every 500 grams of body fat is equivalent to 3,500 calories. So if you have a body fat of 500 grams, you need to burn 3,500 calories a day. So take that into consideration if you are overweight, how much activity you need to do to lose this weight is very, very important. So when more food is consumed than is needed, if you recall, I mentioned that, yes, we cannot store carbohydrates much. So everything will be converted into fat. So much of the excess weight that we have is due to excess consumption of the macronutrients. Excess consumption of the macronutrients, basically fat and then carbohydrates. Fat and carbohydrates. They are the ones that are stored in the body. They are the ones that are stored. So it is very, very important that we watch how much. So the energy out is basically from being physically active, and then also from the basal metabolic rate. And the basal metabolic rate is the energy that we expend when we are at rest. When we are at rest. So as you are sitting down in class now, you are not doing any serious activity. So basically you are at rest. You are at rest. Your hand is moving small if you are writing. But other than that, we are at rest. And when we are at rest, we also expend some amount of energy. And if you see what's on the board is between 50 to 65%. So that is the greatest amount. But we expend this amount of energy depending upon our body composition. We shall talk about it. And then as we eat food too, some of you might have realized that when you start eating, you start sweating. Yes, because as you you are eating the food, the digestion and absorption process also uses some amount of energy, and that is why you sweat to cool the body, and that is what we term as the thermic effect of food. The thermic effect of food. If you are using some old test, you come across specific dynamic action of food, but the new test has been changed to thermic effect of food. So what are the factors that affect the basal metabolic rate? That is the energy expenditure when we are at rest. We have age. So the younger an individual is, the higher the BMR. And then also if you are tall, yes, of course, you then have a larger surface area. So BMR is also high. And then somebody who is also growing has a higher BMR. And then when somebody also is a male, gender, males have a higher BMR than females because they have more muscle. So as you have more muscle, then you have a higher BMR. So if you have two individuals, one is a male and one is a female, but the female is very athletic and therefore has more muscle than the male, then of course the female have a higher BMR than the male. Although under normal circumstances we expect males to have higher, having fever and so forth. Also, all these factors can affect the basal metabolic rate. And then I mentioned gender. When you look at it, as you see, the males have more muscle, and this diagram gives us a typical example. And I've included a number of pictures and diagrams so that you, at least the pictures will give you a better insight. So sometimes when we see something, we can visualize. Even when we forget, once we visualize it, we'll be able to answer the question. Okay, so the three components of the lifestyle components, we have the diet, all foods and drinks. What foods are we eating? Are they foods that are high in fat, foods that are high in sugar, the drinks high in sugar and so forth? All this influence the diet component. And then the physical activity component, that is, has to do with our bodily movement. Are we more sedentary or we are moving? Very, very important. And then with the behavior change, that is helping us to change the behavior. Yes, if we try to reduce our fat intake, we decide not to take those that contain high amounts of sugar, or even we eliminate sugar totally from our diet, that is a behavior change that can influence our weight. So others have removed sugar from their diet and they are losing the weight. So we can also try and do the same. And then when we talk of the body mass index, it has to do with our weight in relation to our height. So when we have high body mass index, then it means we are overweight. And as the BMI becomes higher, then it means we are getting to morbidly obese. So this chart gives us a classification of the body mass index. You know, so if one is underweight, then one has a BMI that is lower than 18, then one has a very low BMI, and that is not healthy. And if you recall, I told you both underweight and overweight are not good. The worst of when we get to extreme obesity, and in some tests you come across the word morbidly obese. You know, BMI above 40 and over, it is a serious thing. It is very easy to gain, but very painful and takes longer time to lose. So why don't we do the right thing? Look at the lifestyle behaviors. Eliminating sugar, we've done it with others and they are losing the weight. So it is very, very important that we consider that. Then with overweight, yes, it has been shown to be the single risk factor for almost all the chronic diseases that we see. So the higher the BMI, the higher the risk of getting the non-communicable diseases, which includes diabetes, hypertension, strokes and so forth, high blood cholesterol and so forth. So the lower the BMI, the better. So it is important that we take note of that. So overweight, yes, these are some of the disorders. I've mentioned some already. Then another one that most people don't realize is the sleep apnea. That is, the individual cannot sleep well. Sleep for short while. It's because of overweight, and it's a major challenge that most people have. Yes, but even with the overweight, if one engages in regular physical activity, one is able to manage the sleep. One is able to manage the sleep. But I would also, at this point, I also want to reiterate the fact that when we talk about overweight, yes, nutrition plays a major role, but we should know that nutrition is embedded in the environment, and there are some also that genetics play a role. So some of them is genetical, and we cannot do much about it, but we can help them to manage and maintain a healthy profile. Yes, another area of obesity that we need to look at and look at it carefully is the central obesity. When we talk of central obesity, that is the diagram on the screen is showing where we have it around the stomach region. So we normally will say we have the pear-shaped and then the apple-shaped, where we have the stomach area being very big. That is the apple-shaped, and that is very risky, whereas the pear-shaped is where we have the stomach to be very flat. So let's go back. So when we have the central obesity, that's as what we saw, the figure we saw, that individual is at a risk of hypertension, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes, you know. And then the yellow that we see there is visceral fat, and that is what causes the problem. And this is what is also described in the test as beer belly. And in this we see it mostly with those who drink a lot of beer. You see the fat stomach. Yes, it is not healthy, and that has health risks for all that we've mentioned earlier on. When it comes to fat distribution, yes, we have gender also to play a part. So when we are talking about the pear-shaped and then the apple-shaped, gender plays a role. In most cases, we see the females to have the pear-shaped, whereas we see most of the males to have the pot belly part, which is the apple-shaped. But the apple-shaped is more riskier, but we also have some of the men with the pear-shaped, yes, and that is the best for everybody to have, because we don't have the visceral fat, and it is the visceral fat around the stomach area that has been to be a major challenge. And then menopause, yes, and we've seen that when women reach menopause, they also tend to put on a lot of weight, and then also at the stomach area, yes, and that is also not good. So once you are menopausal, that is on the, you can be physically active. How can we be physically active? Doing some walking is also very good. Smoking has also been shown also to influence the body fat distribution. Alcohol intake, yes, studies show that those who take alcohol, especially the appeal, they don't tend to eat well, and therefore they are lean. But it doesn't mean that they are healthy. And then when it comes to physical activity, yes, if you engage in regular physical activity between 60 to 90 minutes a day, is a way to promote health. Yes, we are not saying that do all at a go, but 10 minutes intermittently, they do help. They do help. Climbing the stairs or coming down the steps is a form of activity that can help than always using the lift or the elevator. It's not the best. Yes. So over fatness also presents other social problems. Yes, the stigmatization. Yes, people tease, and when it comes to our children, sometimes it affects their studies because of the behavior of their colleagues in school. So there's the social implications, which is negative. There's also the economic handicaps. Yes, you have to pay twice for the clothes that you wear. You need to sit in a taxi. Sometimes you alone, you have to pay because you occupy the whole seat, the back seat. You have to pay for everything. So these are some of the challenges. And right now, I know in the US, for example, as you go on as a size up, X1, X2, each step up, you add additional $5. And I understand the aircraft is also trying to charge extra because you are occupying 2 seats. So the economic implications is there. And then the healthcare costs associated, because once one becomes overweight, you are more prone to other non-communicable diseases. So you have health costs to pay. Then physical problems, yes, very difficult to move. Very difficult to move. And sometimes, so if there is any accident, yes, the one who is morbidly obese is more likely to be hurt because you cannot run when everybody is running. So it is very, very important that we make sure that people do not get to that overweight, extreme obesity, that this becomes a major challenge, and the health implications. So the disease risks, I've mentioned a few. This is also others for you to rely on. So how do we prevent? We've mentioned some being physically active, but in addition, there are certain things that we need to be aware of adequacy, get enough of essential nutrients. That is the key. We should make sure that our nutrients are balanced in relation to proportion. No overconsumption, overemphasis of a particular group. Calorie control is the key. Eating in moderation. Any food in reasonable size. Yes, it's not because I like this food, so we are eating it. No. We should make sure that we are within limits. And then variety. And that links into the dietary diversity that I've mentioned all along. So why do people eat the way they eat? Is also another challenge. Eating is an intentional act. So everybody can control. But people choose to eat because they want to eat. And that is not right. And especially when there is free food. And these are things we need to discourage people from. So what to eat, where to eat, who to eat with, how to eat are important, because who to eat with is a major challenge that we find ourselves in, because that influences how much an individual is eating. Some friends will coerce others to go to a chop bar and they are just eating their art house. So these are very, very key things that we need to note and advise people not to do. So other factors that can drive our food choices, yes, we also have advertisements, the availability, and the availability also links to, as I said, free food, and then also what is available in our environment, our economic power, our emotional state. Sometimes people find comfort in food when they are sad. You know, when they are sad, they tend to eat thinking that the food will bring them joy, but rather it brings more problem. And then some habits that we have formed. A typical one is some people eating late at night, then we go to bed. That is also not too good. Then personal preferences, and I mentioned that it's not because I like. Yes, you like, but then let portion guide you. And then season, the season that food is in abundance, yes, because it is there, we are just eating, thinking that we will not have it anymore. So positive associations with friends can also influence, and that is also something we should think about. Then religion is also one. If we take pork, for example, Muslims are not supposed to eat pork. Yes, we also have some of our culture, taboos and beliefs that are also tied into religion somehow, that we are not supposed to eat certain food. Then social pressure. Yes, sometimes you don't want to eat. You attend a funeral or a ceremony, then the food is also being pushed on you. Yes, it is time that we teach people to learn to say no. Enough is enough. Then what our values are and what we believe in. And then others too, when we are watching our weight. Sometimes we are undernourished, but we are under challenge, so we want to eat a particular food. Then the nutritional value, because we think it is good, we want to eat. Yes. So because of these behaviors, that can give rise to certain eating disorders. And we see athletes to be one, especially the female athletes. And that gives rise to what we call the female triad. And then they suffer from all kinds of deficiencies. Yes. So this is the eating disorder for the female triad. For a female athlete who is not eating well, she may have a number of challenges. And then with everybody, we also have what we call anorexia nervosa. And because the person looks at himself in the mirror and feels that he's not looking great, and therefore self-starvation, behaviors that will actually threaten that person's life. And then we also have the bulimia, where the individual also feels that he's doesn't look very good, or will eat a lot and then will try to do a lot of physical activity, or will vomit to get rid of the food. These are all problems that we see happening in our country. Now, this used to be something for the West, but now because of the nutrition transition and then globalization of everything, the world is so small now. We are in Ghana, but we are in mini America. You know, you enter the mall, you see that it's just like you are in a mall in America. So people are doing everything differently. Yes, so these things also have implications and affecting our eating and our behaviors. So let us be mindful of what we do. Our eating behaviors has implications on our health. So for our take home, why do some people get fat? Why do some people get fat? Why do some get stay thin. These are issues for us to think about and try to find answers to them. And once you are able to answer this, as I said, the course is an application. So you should be able to apply what we've learned so far and answer these questions. Is weight controlled by heredity? Is weight controlled by heredity? Think about that. Is it eating habits? These are questions that you need to ponder on. So you should form groups and discuss some of these things. And make sure that you do your readings, because as I said, we've passed halfway the semester. Very soon your IAs are coming on and they will be writing the finals. So don't joke, do your readings, and I'll see you next week.